2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
That's right, I'm here. Did you not think I was going to show up? Think I was going to stay home, call out sick? Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We come to you live on this wonderful Friday across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course streaming live on YouTube. I'm in a great mood today. Let me tell you, I am so excited to be here to talk with all of you all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time. Roman Harper is going to join us hopefully in an hour from now. We'll talk a little college football. Paul Pabst will join us at 5:20 p.m. Eastern, 2:20 p.m. Pacific, as we'll do some NFL picks with him. But Stu, what a wonderful night. Feliz Navidad, right, to you? Big Christmas. Ties up the game after I thought that was over between the Yankees and the Guardians when you had a little back-to-back belly-to-belly with Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. Giancarlo no si puesto parlo. I thought the Yankees had it in the bag, and then Big Christmas, which is a great nickname, hit the 2-run blast, and then you ended up getting the walk-off with Mr. Fry. And now it's 2-1 in favor of the New York Yankees. Now, we'll get to my baseball team in just a second. But usually, when I'm down and almost out, I'm not like someone that goes, hey, everyone else, get off the Titanic. Go jump on the life raft. I'll just sit here and have the ship go down. Nope, I want to bring you down with me. So even though I understand, Stu, that you may be down in the dumps today, I do think your baseball team is still going to the World Series. I get that. You're still going to the World Series. I would still be surprised if we're sitting here next week previewing the Guardians going up against the LA Dodgers. Or maybe the Mets if they could come on back. But last night, I need you to just tell me a little bit about how you are feeling, because this was the first time this postseason you probably have had to actually be upset with the performance by the Bronx Bombers, because when you lost the one game to the Royals, you knew that the Royals were like the little engine that could this year. Choo-choo. They weren't going to be able to find a way to advance to the ALCS. So in one breath, you could be upset with what happened, but then in the next breath, it's like, okay, do you actually believe the Guardians are winning this series? Nah, probably not. So give me your thoughts here. Let me hear your misery before we get to my misery.
Sure, of course.
I want to feast off your pain first.
So the fact that the Yankees actually got into that bullpen, the whole game, it kind of felt like, all right, this is the game they're going to lose. They're not going to hit. The Guardians get into their bullpen, their vaunted bullpen. And then the Yankees get to Clase, who is the best closer in baseball.
Mariano Rivera, right?
Apparently so, at least in regular season. They actually get 2 home runs off of him, get the lead, and at that point, you just can't lose that game. You just can't give up that lead in the 9th, and then at that point, once they blew that lead and it went to extras, I'm like, I don't know. I did not feel good about it once they went into extra innings.
And I'm not saying it would make it easier, but if it was like, I don't know, Rizzo and Volpe who hit the home runs.
Right.
It's a little bit different than Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, who's on fire this postseason. When you get your MVP, the MVP of the American League, going deep, and then following it up with Giancarlo Stanton. I being at the Met game, and I wasn't able to watch the Yankees-Guardians live. I was watching the Mets, unfortunately. When I saw that you had the back-to-back home runs belly to belly, I'm like, okay, that game is over. And then I'm caught up in my baseball game, and then I checked my phone because I heard I had the worst section last night, let me tell you, at the stadium.
Oh, no.
I'll get to that in a second. The people I went to the game with were awesome. But the people around me, it was like they haven't watched the Mets at all this year, or you have watched every game of the Mets, but you are stuck in some acid trip in the 1970s. Now, I'll get to that in just a second. But when I looked at my phone and I saw that the Yankees lost the game, I was like, what? This is going to be one messed up night of baseball. So, Stu, I need to just ease my pain a little bit today, because it's not only bad that I feel miserable about my baseball team. I went to go get a coffee at work today because they had those iced coffees that they brought in yesterday.
Yep.
But once the iced coffees are put in the fridge, they go in a second. So I did not get the iced coffee. So I was like, okay, I saw a ginger ale in the vending machine. I was like, oh, let me get a little pick-me-up. But since my brain is like operating on the slowest of speed today because I'm upset, because I'm caught up in my feelings, I'm having a day, I forgot when you get a ginger ale out of the vending machine here and it drops out of the vending machine, that when you open it, it explodes.
Oh.
So I may have had a little ginger ale on my sleeve about 30 minutes ago, and instead of having 130 calories of ginger ale, I had a half of that because it's on the counter. Now, to our office manager, Matt, I did take paper towels. I wetted the paper towels, and then I wiped off the counter. So, Stu, to uplift my spirits, can I hear the big Christmas home run by Tom Hamilton on the Guardians Radio Network?
Swung on and hammered! High! Deep to left! Away out of here! Bedlam in Cleveland! John Kensey Noel, a tape measure job to the bleachers and left. We are tied at 5.
All right, that's a pretty good call by Tom Hamilton. Now let me hear the walk-off of the David Fry game-winning home run in the 10th inning.
Swung on, hit high, hit deep to left. There she goes. How about that? A walk-off to magical 2024 season is not done by any means.
Stu, can we agree on this? Even though I don't think it makes your situation any better, hearing Tom Hamilton have that moment does bring a little bit of a smile to your face, because he's by far and away, in my opinion, the best English-speaking radio play-by-play guy. Spanish-speaking, it's our buddy Ricky Ricardo on the Spanish Yankees radio network. But Tom Hamilton, to me, is the preeminent Major League Baseball play-by-play guy. So, does that make you feel a little bit better?
No, not really.
Oh,
No.
okay. Just checking. No. All right, let me get to my section from last night. So, I didn't want to be rude, but there were 3 older people sitting next to me. And when Vientos hit the home run, the older guy stood up, gave me a big high five. I was like, okay, that's fine. But then whenever the Mets would bring in a reliever, and it's guys that have been on the team, he'd be like, why is this manager bringing this guy in? He's like, this guy hasn't been on the team. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Maton stinks. I don't like him being in that spot. But to pretend like you never heard who he was is crazy to me. And the same for Jose Buto as well. And it was just everything. I hate when someone has commentary on every pitch of a baseball game. So that was to the left of me. And then to the right of me, there was a lady who was there solo. She must have been 70, 71, 72. She had big red hair, and it was almost like in a mohawk, but it wasn't a mohawk, but it was close. And she had this big furry coat on and a Matt Harvey jersey with no number, just the name Harvey. The number was ripped off. And every song, walk up, bullpen entrance, just in the stadium, she's getting up and dancing like she is on acid in the 70s. So that was to the right of me. And then the older people were to the left of me. And I'm sitting there because I got invited to the game. I had a ticket, but since I was a late invite to the game, the buddy and the people I went with, they were a few seats over to the right, and they were, fortunate enough. I was fortunate enough that they were able to get me a ticket. But since it's a playoff game, there's no empty seats, so it's not like you could just move over. And, most people don't go solo, so it's not like you just swap one seat and then boom, away you go. But that's what I had to deal with in this game. So the vibes in the stadium were good, but the vibes in my section with the person or the 3 people to the left and the person to the right were just no bueno. And then there were these 2 people in front of me that I don't know if they were paying attention to the game or not, because they turned around after the first inning, and it was in the second, they were like, when did the Mets tie the game? I'm like, are you serious? And I was on good behavior because there was no benefit of me getting into it with these people. Mark Vientos hit a home run in the bottom of the first. The whole stadium got up, went berserk, screamed, oh my God. And you didn't see or realize that Mark Vientos hit a home run. So I had crappy fans in front of me, crappy fans to my left, and crappy fans to my right. And on the baseball field, a lot of crappy baseball play by the New York Mets. So that was me last night. And you know what's just at least in game 1, they got blown out, they got dragged, and the game was over. Even though this game, the end result was a blowout, if you watched it, they had so many opportunities to get back in the game, or dare I say it, take the lead. And how many times would the Mets leave last night? Ducks on the pond. Just over and over and over again. So you're there, you want to win, but also I'm realistic, right? Like the Dodgers are a better baseball team than the Mets. The Dodgers are the best team in Major League Baseball. The Mets heading into this season, my expectations were 83, 84 wins. And if everything goes right, maybe they're a third wild card. Now, they ended up being a third wild card, But if you put a gun to my head before the season and said, Zach, did the Mets make the playoffs? I would have said no. And they were terrible to start. They got me through the summer. They had a great game up against the Braves, a great elimination game up against the Brewers. You have the Grand Slam when I was in the building for Game 4 up against the Phillies to win that series up against Philadelphia, Francisco Lindor with the Grand Salami. And then you take care of business in LA, splitting the first two. You lose Game 1, and then you win Game 2. But in Game 3, they were non-competitive. And in Game 4, they did everything in their power to make you believe that this team had another comeback. And then when they had the runners in scoring position, they bleeped the bed. So the Dodgers are clearly the better team. The Mets have clearly overachieved this year. Regardless of what happens today, this goes down as a top 3, and this is how pathetic my team has been, a top 3 season in my lifetime, where I judge it by how enjoyable and fun the team is to watch, not by how many wins they've produced. Because they produced more wins in 2022, but 2022 in September was not fun. However, it's funny as a sports fan. Like you would agree, Stu. There's probably not much hope I could give the Met fan, to come on back and win this series, you would think, after walking out of that stadium. But right. I woke up today and I'm like, hey, if they win Game 5, which is going to be tough going up against Flaherty, but now you got Peterson on the bump to start. If you win Game 5, then you got Manaea in Game 6. And Manaea has been incredible. Just get me to a Game 7 and anything could happen. So I have one more ask of my New York Mets this year. And this will be the last time this year that I will ask something out of this baseball team. Because when they got into the postseason, I thought they would beat the Brewers, but I was not asking them to beat the Brewers. When they found out and you had the Pete Alonso home run and you win that Game 3 up against the Brewers, I asked them to beat the Philadelphia Phillies. And I said, I do believe that their ceiling is the NLCS. And how many Mets fans, including yours truly, I'll raise my hand, we wanted the Dodgers over the Padres. I think that was a mistake. I'd much rather be playing the Padres right now, if I'm being honest. But I will be greedy because I have a right to be greedy. I will have one more ask. I'm not even asking them to win the series, this NLCS. Just get me to a Game 7 on Monday evening, and I will take my chances in a Game 7. So the little engine that could, the New York Mets, even though they have the highest payroll in baseball, choo-choo, just chug along today at Citi Field, find a way, then win Game 6, and all I ask is just get to Game 7. That's all I need. But that's where my mind is at today as a sport fan. Just find a way to win 2 games and get to a Game 7, and I will gamble in a Game 7 on our chances to get the job done. That's the only line of thinking that you could have. But other than that, like if I'm being honest, I don't have a lot of confidence that that's going to happen. Shohei Ohtani's ridiculous. And can the Mets pitch to Shohei? I know he led up the game with a home run. But I'd rather have him hit 4 solo shots than you keep on putting him on base and then Mookie Betts finally showing up. Hey, he's a pretty damn good player too. And we're going 4 for 5 last night, just abusing this team. And you know how the Dodgers feel like they have this series wrapped up? Even going into Game 4? They sat down Freddie Freeman. They were like, we're up 2-1. Freeman could use some rest because of his injury. So let's sit him down and we'll still find a way to win. And guess what they did? And I thought for a moment, Stu, we were finally going to see the Dave Roberts over-managing when he took out Yamamoto. I'm like, here we go. Classic Dave Roberts. And the Mets just couldn't make the Dodgers pay. Those have been the 2 biggest differences to me in this series. When the Dodgers have opportunities, they pounce. And then also, how many freaking times are the New York Mets just going to walk people? Walk after walk after walk. So we'll see what happens today in Game 5. Today's the toughest part, though. get off the mat, stand up, win game 5, and then I'll take our chances with Manaea on the mound in game 6 to be able to force a game 7. I would love on Sunday to have a game 6 to watch. That's all I ask for. Have a game 6 to get me to a game 7. And then after that, if they lose, I'll take it. If they get to the World Series, I want them to win, but I won't ask to win. All I ask for the rest of the way is to just get to a game 7 on Monday night. All righty. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. That will do a little baseball out of the gate. Was not expecting to do 15 minutes on baseball, but, I'm a little bit emotional today. I'm in my feelings. There was a listener. Who was the guy? Oh, it was Ryan in Sacramento. We haven't heard from him from a while. Sometimes Ryan, when he calls in, he sounds like he's on some of the stuff that maybe that lady was on, sitting next to me at the game last night. But one day, he sent us Van Leeuwen ice cream. So, if you listen and you want to send something to the studios, 345 Hudson Street, be my guest. I could use something to uplift the spirits of your favorite radio host today. All righty, we'll take a timeout. When we come on back, all eyes on Georgia and all eyes on Alabama this weekend, with Georgia going up against Texas and Alabama going up against good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. But first, football is back, and what better way to celebrate than winning some cash with Sleeper Picks? Sleeper Picks is a fantasy game, but you can win real money. Just pick more or less than at least 2 player stats. If your picks are right, you win. You can pick up to 8 players to win up to 100 times your money. And Sleeper has a couple huge offers to kickstart the football season. For new users, Sleeper will match your first deposit with up to $100 credit to your account. If you've already played, Sleeper's got discounted player projections for you every week of the season. So download the Sleeper app now and use promo code SCORE, and your first deposit will be doubled with a credit up to $100. What are you waiting for? Download Sleeper today and use code SCORE, that's SCORE, for a credit up to $100 match on your first deposit. That's code SCORE. Must be 18 years in most states and in state where it is legal. Promo code and other restrictions apply. Visit sleeper.com. Please wager responsibly. Gambling problem, call 1-800-426-2537 for help. Paid for by Blitz Studios.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
Are we about to live in a world where Alabama and Georgia will both miss the college football playoff? It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. And you may be saying, Zach, what are you on today? If you're saying Alabama and Georgia, or just asking if Alabama and Georgia are going to miss the college football playoff. Now, let me be abundantly clear. I think most of us going into this season in a 12-team college football playoff format, we're saying, hey, 2 losses, if you are a big-time program, you will still probably get in. But if you get to 3 losses, that's the cut line. Now, with how many teams have already lost that we didn't expect to lose in some of these upsets, maybe we are infringing on a territory where a 3-loss team can be in the college football playoff. Maybe. So I understand Georgia and Alabama, if they get to 3 losses, it's going to be tricky to get in, but it's still plausible. However, once you get to 2 losses, that's when you start to feel and enter life support kind of situation where it's like a 50-50 chance. If you suffer another loss and you already have 2 losses, I can't guarantee that you get in on 3. So the wiggle room for Georgia and Alabama are both on the line this weekend. And for Alabama, we know what their one egregious loss was, and their only loss of the season. It was Vanderbilt. Bama plays Tennessee at good old Rocky Top this weekend. If they lose there, and let's just play into this world where Alabama loses to Tennessee, which is definitely possible, that's then 2 losses on the season. The remaining schedule for the Crimson Tide would then be Missouri, LSU, Mercer, Oklahoma, and Auburn. So can they lose another game in that stretch? Yeah, they can. So this weekend, I will say, when you look at Georgia up against Texas and Alabama up against Tennessee, I think there's more pressure on Alabama, and I think there's more pressure on Georgia. And I know the Tennessee fan could say, "Ooh, but what about us? We only have 1 loss as well." Well, with the way that your offense has been functioning as of late, do I think that it's likely, even if you win this weekend, that there won't be another loss on your schedule? Which, hey, then you only have 2 losses and you would have beat Alabama. I guess it's possible, but the Tennessee remaining schedule after this weekend, Kentucky is no slouch. You got Mississippi State. You still got to play Georgia, and it's then UTEP and Vanderbilt. So I do think there's more pressure on Alabama because I expect more out of Alabama this year than Tennessee. Now, how about Georgia? Right? The first half up against Alabama, they were a no-show. Then they finally showed up in the second half, but they weren't able, after taking the lead, to keep the lead, and they allowed that 75-yard touchdown down the right sideline from Jalen Milroe to Ryan Williams. So if Georgia were to lose this weekend, and then they would have 2 losses on the season, let me hear their remaining schedule. Florida, Ole Miss, Tennessee, UMass, and Georgia Tech. And remember, you could still get into an SEC championship game. And if you're a 2-loss SEC champion, obviously you're in because the highest-ranked conference champions do get a bye in this new format. And you would be one of the 4 highest-ranked conference champions. So you're going to have a spot in the college football playoff. We know that. But if you lose this weekend and you suffer your second loss and you already lost to Alabama, you can't lose another game for the rest of the season. So Georgia and Alabama, I'm going to be fascinated to see if either go down this weekend. Because if they do go down, then they have 2 losses on the season. And then their next loss, they are now in the conversation of teams when you have a college football playoff bubble of 12. Even though a 3-loss team could get in this year potentially, you would be on the outside looking in with 1 more loss. Now, when we get to Georgia and Texas, this is a game that I really struggle in picking. For most of the week, I felt Georgia. Today, I did wake up and I felt that Texas was going to win. And I could argue that there's more on the line this weekend and tomorrow evening at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time for Georgia than Texas. Because from a simple math perspective, Texas is undefeated. Georgia has 1 loss. So if Texas loses this one, they're still alive. They could still win the SEC. And quite frankly, they play Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, and A&M. Maybe you could have a little bit of a close game against Kentucky and you could sweat a little bit against A&M, but you should be able to then go run the table from there and only have 1 loss on the season. And for Texas, you can make a big statement in the SEC, hey, this is now our conference in your first year in the SEC. But I think from a motivation standpoint, there's more on the line from Georgia because this is the first time in a while where now there is reason to actually doubt Georgia. Because when you look at Georgia this year, and, I'm going to lean Georgia in this game, but I don't feel great about it. It's like Georgia lost that first big test to Bama. They were lucky to survive up against Kentucky, only beating them by 1. I got to see the hype around Georgia, right? And what people thought Georgia was heading into the year. And then what they displayed when they didn't even play their best game up against Clemson and they still beat them 34-3. I got to see Georgia start to emulate the team that they have been and the team the way that we have talked about them for the last 3 seasons coming up tomorrow. So that's my kind of look at Texas and Georgia. And then for Alabama, Tennessee, I think this is a close game, but the reason why I lean towards Alabama is I have a trust issue right now with the Tennessee offense. The Tennessee offense was humming out of the gate with Nico Iamaleava. But since he has looked like a young quarterback and the way that a young quarterback is supposed to look, and I get it, the Alabama defense has struggled, but I just simply am going, even though this is a team sport, I'm going with an individual in this one. Last week, the Crimson Tide, for whatever reason, and I don't know why, they did not target Ryan Williams enough. If we're being honest, pound for pound on both of these teams, the best player on both of these teams, pound for pound, is Ryan Williams, the freshman sensation wide receiver out of Alabama. I think this is a sloppy, close game, but Ryan Williams is the different in this one, and he will lead the Tide to victory. But man, this should be a really fun 3:30, then 7:30 kind of situation with these heavyweights inside the SEC, with maybe the game of the year in the regular season. Georgia going up against Texas, and then a moment for Alabama and Tennessee to prove themselves that they belong this year in the 12-team race in the college football playoff. Because Tennessee, for a while, was the story. Then their offense has struggled. We know they have dropped one. And for Alabama, it's almost like they haven't been the Alabama that we thought they were going to be since that first half smackdown up against Georgia. It's like they let all the energy and the excitement and the build-up just out in that first half. And ever since, lackluster second half. Fortunately, they were able to win the game. Got smacked around by Vanderbilt of all teams. And then even when they defeated, last week, South Carolina, it was, got to wipe some sweat off the cabeza. Got to wipe some sweat off the dome, because that was an ugly, ugly performance where it would have been what the bleep just happened to Alabama. And it felt like a what the bleep just happened to Alabama, but they were able to still secure a victory by 2 points in that one. All righty, Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. Let me check in. I just got to be a loving, caring colleague. I just got to see how Marco Belletti is doing. Your Yanks last night. You're still going to the World Series, don't worry. But that's a game when you don't think you're going to the World Series?
I didn't realize that the tickets were printed. Go ahead. No, I was just checking.
I don't think they print tickets anymore. I think they send them digitally.
Okay. All right. So they were emailed? They're on my phone?
I'm sure they are.
I'm
sure they are out there, and you already have tickets on the phone and all that. If you have Yankees World Series tickets, I'm sure they're already in the account. But last night, when you have Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Nossi-Puistoparlo hit the back-to-back belly-to-belly home runs, everyone thought that game was over. And then Big Christmas and then Fry, they get the 2 home runs as well. Where are you at with your Yanks after the first time this postseason the Yankee fan feels down in the dumps?
Okay, as long as there's a bounce back tonight. Because that game could be 2 things. One, it's a blip, no big deal, move on. Yankees still go up 3-1, you're okay.
Like a good joke.
It's fine, and you can't win them all that kind of stuff. But
remember that time we were worrying after we blew a game?
That type of game, that type of win for Cleveland could propel them. Those are the things that when you start writing stories, that's part of the chapters that you have when you go on to something special.
Yeah.
So the Yankees have to make sure that it doesn't snowball, which is why tonight becomes so important.
Now, let me ask you this. From my perspective, being a Met fan, they're down 3-1 right now. I know in 2004, you had to deal with the Yankees being up 3-0 against the Red Sox. So when did you get nervous in terms of actually thinking, hey, we're going to blow this? Because when it got to 3-1 and you had the Poppy, the first of many walk-offs, he had that walk-off home run, I don't think you're thinking you're going to lose the series at 3-1. But when did you start to think to yourself, the Yankees are in danger of being the first team ever to blow a 3-0 lead?
When they lost the second game in Boston, so they were 3-2. And the way that game went, because they had plenty of chances, and if memory serves, it was extra innings and another walk-off.
Yeah.
That one, when Game 6 started, and they couldn't attack Kurt Schilling. I was already nervous, but when they couldn't attack Kurt Schilling on the 1 foot and the sock and all that other nonsense.
You think the sock was actually bloody? I do, but some people don't.
I don't know. I don't really care, to be totally honest with you. But during that game, when they showed no pulse, then it was over.
Yeah.
Game 7 was, unfortunately, you knew you were going to a funeral. You knew it. You knew it. There wasn't a question in your mind. Whether it was Kevin Brown, Javier Vasquez, or anybody else that
Johnny Damon.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter. That it was over. It was over. You can't. Again, if you allow a good team a little bit, they take more. And they start to believe and believe and believe. And you start to look around and go, what the hell just happened? That's why last night for the Yankees, not that big a deal, grand scheme, as long as you bounce back quickly. You don't, however way they lose, 7-1, 3-2 in a nail biter, whatever it is, you wind up 2-2, all of a sudden you start doubting. And Cleveland is all kinds of believing.
So as a Met fan down 3-1, and I've seen some 3-1 comebacks before for teams that I root for. It's the team that plays on the ice, the Rangers. They've had a bunch of 3-1 comebacks. All I ask for is the Mets just to get to a Game 7. That's all I ask for. I think today's the toughest one. Win this one. You got Manaea in Game 6. Just get me to a Game 7. I'll take the chances. When should I let myself, if this does start to happen, have hope build up as a Met fan down 3-1?
Get the one game. LA doesn't want to go home with the Mets. They want to win today. Don't let them fool you. Any Dodger fan, we're going home. No. You want to go home to get prepared for the World Series. You don't want the Mets coming with you. So the idea that they can't close them out at Citi Field today would automatically give you hope. Plus, you got your best pitcher going up in a bullpen game in Game 6. Now, you can't start going down the line. It's about today. If the Mets get a win today, the fact that they've been behind the 8 ball so many times, they had their back up against the wall, they respond again.
Yeah.
That's going to put a little doubt in the Dodgers' mind, and it's going to annoy the hell out of them that they got to go home and play the Mets again in Game 6.
If the Mets win today, I would get sunshine on a cloudy day. That's the way I would start to feel.
Again, you can't get too far ahead, but the way the Mets season has gone and with everything that they've done this year, this game today could be enough to propel them to actually still come back in this series, which they look dead in.
Oh, yeah.
One game can change all of that.
Yeah.
It's funny how baseball playoffs work like that. It's baseball. It's a long season. Not a playoff series. It's not. One little thing can move along, and all of a sudden it snowballs, and there's nothing you can do about it.
It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Roman Harper will join us 22 minutes from now. Paul Pass for NFL Picks at 5:20 p.m. Eastern Time, 2:20 p.m. Pacific today. We will take time out. We'll come on back. We'll update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We'll get to a news brief, but update time first. Here he is, El Capitan, Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Zach, Dodgers have that star power and now just a win away from the World Series, trying to close out the Mets in the NLCS in 5, but Dave Roberts not ready to put up those tickets just yet.
We still have a lot of work to do. We got to win one more game this series. I love the way that our guys haven't let off the gas in the sense of, I think that, the outcome of the last 2 games, certainly if you watch the games, doesn't tell the story. And so the way we were able to add on the last couple nights has been huge.
After that, it's Game 4 ALCS, Yankees and Guardians. Bombers up 2-1. Well, it was a surprise when Tony Bennett decided to walk away from Virginia after 15 seasons, especially with the season less than 3 weeks away. Bennett explained when he started to realize that this was the direction he wanted to go.
It really wasn't until fall break that we have here where Laurel and I went away and just kind of processed about what the future would be.
Nothing official from the Steelers, but signs pointing to Russell Wilson getting the nod against the Jets Sunday night, taking over for Justin Fields, who had led Pittsburgh to a 4-2 start on the season. Browns, they'll get Nick Chubb back against the Bengals. Jerome Ford, he's been ruled out. I'm Marco Belletti.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
For your daily news brief, we get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Time to Ask the Pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INFSportsNet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. And be listening later in the program, and we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Let's start out with Aaron Judge on the heartbreaking Game 3 loss to the Cleveland Guardians.
Nah, a loss is a loss. You know, we would have got blown out here. It's the same as that, same results. You know, it's 2-1 now. So, yeah, can't dwell on it. Can't mope. Can't hang our head. I would just say it's a baseball game right there. You know, it's, you know, like I said, I wish we were on the other end of it. But, you know, just back and forth. Guys having great at-bats when they needed to. Pitchers coming up in some big spots. Like I said, now we focus on Game 4.
And we go to David Fry on the Guardians underdog story.
I think it's just who we are as a team. Like, everybody genuinely loves each other, and we come to the field excited to play. And it's like, yeah, we got punched in the mouth with the best pitcher in baseball, Manuel Clase. And it's like, you know what, boys, like, he picked us up all year. It's time we pick him up.
And they did pick him up indeed, as you did see the Guardians have the big Christmas home run, then David Fry with the walk-off. And they are now on the board in this series, down 2-1. We'll see what happens today, Yankees and Guardians. Let's go to Mad Max Crosby. So I think this is fascinating, right? Because there's been all this talk, Stu, about the Raiders potentially trading him, but people don't think the Raiders will actually do it. Then Thomas Dimitroff comes on this show, and he says, hey, 2 first-round picks and then some. That's what it would take, and the Lions should do that and bring Max Crosby back to Detroit and have him go play some football there. So this is Max Crosby, who has been, right, the perfect Raider, has been the guy who's like, I'm here, I'm a Raider. Just listen to what he had to say about some of these trade rumors.
I'm not here to rebuild, I'm here to win. So, I don't know whatever that means, but yeah, I'm here to win now, and wherever I'm going to be, I'm going to be here to win. So that's all that matters to me.
Stu, you have said that it's very unlikely that the Raiders trade Max Crosby. And part of it is, okay, it takes so much to get the deal done from now until the deadline, but also Max Crosby prefers to stay here. When you hear him say that, I'm not here to rebuild, and we know the Raiders are in rebuilding mode, and whatever that means and wherever that is that the first time the antenna's up where it's like, Max Crosby may be out the door sooner rather than later?
I don't think so. I've heard like 20, 30 minutes of quotes from in the past 2 weeks. I think that's just one wherever. I don't think he meant it as if he wants out or is leaving. But he has said countless times, even in the past week, in different sittings, that he wants to be here. So I don't know. Maybe that changes, but I don't see it as that.
I do think this is a little bit different than Davante Adams. But there is a similar principle. Both have put on the presentation that they've wanted to stay and they want to win. With Davante Adams, you always knew he was leaving. For Max Crosby, I'm unsure. But if Brad Holmes picks up that phone, and Brad Holmes learned from Les Snead, they were together with the Rams, and if he channels his inner Les Snead and says, F those picks, here's 2 first-round picks and then some, the Raiders, got to do the deal because they're nowhere close to winning, and you're getting 2 first-round picks and then some for Max Crosby. And also, if I'm Max Crosby, guess what? I would much rather want to play on a Super Bowl contender with the Detroit Lions than the stinky, lousy, nowhere close to contending Las Vegas Raiders. And imagine him on the Lions for the next 2, 3, 4 years, whatever, competing for a Super Bowl. And the Lions should leave no stone unturned here. They should be on the phone every day with Tom Telesco saying, let's get a deal done, and continuing to move the football down the field and matriculate it down the field until you get the deal done for Max Crosby. Now, there could be other options for the Lions. Maybe it's Hassan Reddick. But Max Crosby would be the preeminent, realistic option available. And if it takes 2 first-round picks, don't be a loser Detroit Lion fan and be like, I don't want to give away the draft capital. You've never won a Super Bowl. All right? You're going to be really damn good for the next few years. So who cares if you lose the 32nd or the 31st or the 30th or the 29th pick in the back end of the first round? This is your opportunity. This is go time. This is the chance to go actually bring that Lombardi trophy to Detroit. Brad Holmes, Tom Telesco, talk, get a deal done. And Max Crosby, you shouldn't try to prevent that trade from happening because life in Detroit in the year of 2024, I'm not talking about living, but I'm talking about winning, is better than life in Viva Las Vegas. All righty, had to get that in my system. Let's go to Terry Bradshaw. Should Justin Fields stay as the starter? TMZ Sports.
Yes, absolutely. He's played well enough to keep the job, in my opinion. I'm going to hang my hat with the young guy. I'm going to stay with Fields. I think he's played really good. He's such a great athlete and throw, and I think he fits the team they have right now.
Stu, isn't it weird where Terry Bradshaw and not Mike Tomlin is actually being the voice of reason here? Like, if I were to say to you before the week, who would be the voice of reason? Mike Tomlin or Terry Bradshaw, you would say?
It would be Mike Tomlin every time.
Well, Mike Tomlin's playing all these games when it already got leaked out to the media that Russell Wilson's going to start. He won't announce who the starting quarterback is. But George Pickens was like, you know what? Not even him intentionally doing it. He got asked a question, but he basically gave you the answer that everybody has to the test already. Listen to what George Pickens had to say.
Have you noticed him putting in extra time this week, maybe working with you one-on-one just to try to get on the same page?
Yeah, getting on the same page after practice throwing. More than usual because, this is his first start.
It's his first start. This is why NFL coaches could be so stupid. And I like Mike Tomlin. Let me be abundantly clear. But the act is getting a little bit old, where everything's a secret. Just tell everyone you're starting Russell Wilson. We all know you're starting Russell Wilson. George Pickens just told us you were starting Russell Wilson. You told us that the team knows who's starting, but you don't want to give the answers out. So just stop. All right? This is not college. This is not high school. This is not JV. This is the NFL. Just tell us who your starting quarterback is. And I heard Anthony Beck. He was actually on with our friend Andrew Filipponi. Anthony Beck is the Jets color analyst, and he was like, I'm sure the Jets defensive staff would much rather see Russell Wilson this weekend than Justin Fields. So there's a lot of times Tomlin has been criticized, and then Tomlin ends up looking right here. But a lot of people are against this decision to go to Russell Wilson instead of playing Justin Fields, who has not been great, but he is 4-2. I think the only one that has commended Mike Tomlin for this was Joe Banner, who was responding to one of our tweets the other day when Thomas Dimitroff wasn't too happy with what Mike Tomlin's doing. And Joe Banner's like, no, I actually give credit to Mike Tomlin. So that's that. All right, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. We will take a break. When we come on back, Roman Harper will join us. We got a big weekend of SEC football. The SEC Network analyst will join us on the other side.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Man, away we go. Hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We should be joined by former NFL and Alabama defensive back Roman Harper, joining us coming up in a few moments. Roman now a part of the SEC Network. A lot going on in the SEC this weekend. The two big matchups, obviously, Texas and Georgia. And you also got Alabama up against good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. Just one quick thing on the NFL. I do believe that the San Francisco 49ers are going to take down the Kansas City Chiefs 4:25 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday in a Super Bowl rematch. If you recall last year, we did have a Super Bowl rematch, and that was between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Philadelphia Eagles did win that game. I thought that game going in meant more to Philadelphia. Like, I'm not saying that Kansas City can't get up for these games in the regular season, but the games just don't mean as much to Kansas City in the regular season, where, quite frankly, they've been sleepwalking through the first 5-6 weeks of the season, and they still have been better than everybody else. You know, they are still undefeated, and you also get Andy Reid coming off a bye where we know historically he is great. But this game for San Francisco, I think, means everything for San Francisco and really means very little to Kansas City. Like, if Kansas City wins on Sunday, what's the take? Here's Kansas City, inevitable. They're going to three-peat. They're great. There's no, wow take with Kansas City if they win this game. For the 49ers, they beat the Jets to start off the year. Then they lose back-to-back games, Vikings and Rams. You know, they've dealt with a bunch of injuries. Sure, you win going away up against New England, but it's New England. They stink right now. You choke a game to the Cardinals, and you reasserted your dominance inside the NFC West on Thursday night a week ago when you beat Seattle. You let Seattle back in the game, but you beat them ultimately going away 36-24. But there's been no wow moment of positivity for the San Francisco 49ers. And now, even though they're not fully healthy, they are getting healthier. And this is a moment where San Francisco can kind of show everybody, hey, we are back. Not that you probably need a moment for San Francisco to say, hey, we are back, because we saw last year in terms of they had that stretch where they lost 3 games in a row to Cleveland, Minnesota, Cincinnati. They had some injuries, and then they didn't lose a game from November 12th all the way until that Monday night loss where they got beat down by the Baltimore Ravens on December 25th. And oh, yeah, by the way, the San Francisco 49ers still made the Super Bowl. And they lost. They blew another lead in the Super Bowl. So this victory, if they do get this victory on Sunday, which I do believe they will, it's not like you wave the magic wand and it's like, oh, here's a Lombardi trophy. But it just shows that anyone doubting the 49ers, and anyone saying the 49ers can't do this or can't do that, or eventually this is all going to get caught up to them getting so close and yet so far, it moves that conversation away. Because you beat the Chiefs, the best team in the NFL. It puts you in a conversation of, okay, the 49ers finally on the field this year, because, right, the Jets win hasn't aged well because the Jets kind of stink so far and the Jets are desperate. But even though Minnesota, you lost them and Minnesota is undefeated and you got the Lions who are really strong, it's like, hey, don't forget about us. We're really damn good. We're still really damn special. And the Niners have been able to do this without a fully functioning arsenal of weapons that they have. And they're going to get healthier. I don't know if McCaffrey will ever be 100% this year or how many games he's going to play. And there's some big games coming up in the Niners' schedule. But this is a feel of a matchup that we've seen twice in the Super Bowl. It feels like you could see it again this year. And this is just a reminder that even though it's been up and down through the first 6 weeks of the season, at 3-3, you get to 4-3. This is not a spot wherever you look at Kansas City and the 49ers and be like, okay, yeah, the 49ers are donezo. You know, they go get this win. They restore a lot of confidence in people's minds and people's brains. And you look at them, and that's the spot where they end up getting to with the victory coming up on Sunday. And I said this earlier in the week, and I'll say it again. When I look at the undefeated teams in the NFL, you got the Vikings and you got the Chiefs. I do believe that the Chiefs go down this weekend in a close, thrilling game. And I also do believe that the Lions take care of business up against the Minnesota Vikings. So we will have no more undefeated teams after this weekend, in my humble opinion, in the National Football League. So a big weekend upcoming in college football as we got Texas and Georgia. And we also end up having Tennessee going up against Alabama. A lot cooking in the SEC. So we will head out to the guest line right now, and we will welcome in a man that played for the Crimson Tide, a man that won a Super Bowl in the NFL. And I absolutely love whenever he's on ESPN and the SEC network, doing a great job as an analyst now. He is Roman Harper. Roman, how you been? I think we have trouble connecting with Roman Harper.
Sorry, I was on mute. I apologize. Zach, you look a little cold in the studio, bro. I hope you're all good.
No, I'm just in Met depression mode today. And okay. I slept in. My baseball team lost. I'm like, I'm not combing the hair, so I'll basically look like a bum today is what I'm doing.
I get it. I'm not. But I get it.
So let me ask you about Alabama. You know, they had that big performance in the first half up against Georgia. They did not play well in the second half, but they won. They got beat up pretty good by Vanderbilt, and then it was wipe the sweat off the forehead up against South Carolina. Where are you at right now with Alabama going into this one up against Tennessee?
Honestly, Zach, I'm nervously optimistic. Sorry, I'm getting out the car with my son. He's on vacation with me. It's take my son to work week. So honestly, dude, I'm optimistically nervous just because the defense, they have not shown me enough to make me feel confident in what they're doing. It's way too many guys running wide open downfield. It's way too many just missed and blown coverages. It's way too many misfits on the run game. And so because of those reasons, I'm nervous. But I'm also know that they're playing a team in Tennessee who's also struggling just in other factors. And so it's going to come down to, can Tennessee actually hit an open receiver, and can Alabama actually play good coverage and cover the guys that they're supposed to cover, not have the blown and mental errors that they've been making the last few weeks? And can you physically be tough enough and not let what happened against Vanderbilt happen to you again? Because Vanderbilt literally out-toughed them and out-physicaled them on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Like, the big concern right now has been Alabama's defense. Tennessee's offense looked like a bunch of superstars earlier on in the season, and then they've cooled off. From a defensive player standpoint, and let's say you were in that Alabama locker room, what would you feel good about, even though there's been some ups and downs this year, going up against Nico Iamaleava, who has cooled off as of late?
You know, I got to take my glass off for this one, Zach, because the answer is not a lot. Like, nothing really. The thing I'm feeling positive about is the future, that our schedule and our season is still out there in front of us, despite the loss versus Vandy. And so if you can still go out there and win games, then you still have a chance to achieve all the goals and aspirations that you had at the beginning of the year. But they got to get those things cleaned up. And so when you're not doing a lot of things good, let's not even worry about it. How about we just start afresh? Let's scorch the earth, forget about everything that's happened before this day, and let's go out here and see who we can be when we are our best versions. And I listened to somebody like Tim Tebow. He said something really good earlier. It was just like, Alabama's highs are really, really high, like almost as high as any other team. Like, we've seen what they can be at their best. But then they have these lulls or these super lows in the game where you just can't be so hot and cold if you want to win championships. It's something to be said about consistency and what it is and how hard it is to be consistently great. Because a lot of people, it's cool to be mediocre. It's easy, you know? But it's really hard to bring your A game every day and consistently try and be at that level all the time, which is where Alabama is expected to be.
And there has to be an adjustment period. I know fans are going to be like, hey, continue the Saban train, continue winning all these games. And then when you beat Georgia, it's like, oh, we got the coach. The quarterback's going to be a Heisman Trophy winner this year. Forget only being a finalist. He's going to win the award. And then that air gets let out of the balloon very quickly in 2 weeks. Where are you at? Like, I believe in DeBoer, but where are you at with him? And what would your message be to the Alabama fan that's just going to say, hey, it's not Saban. I have no confidence in this dude.
Yeah, I like Kalen DeBoer. I like his leadership style. It's completely different than Nick, right? Nick run it like my brother would say he runs it like Thanos, right? The Infinity Gauntlet, where he snaps a finger, he gets a championship. You're not on his team, then you're gone, right? You're just invisible, right? But Kalen DeBoer, he has this unique ability to be able to talk to people. He empowers those around him to different leadership aspects. And so when sometimes you serve before you ever lead, and it's a different unique status and style, and it makes people like question, but honestly, it works. The guy has won everywhere at all levels. So you got to continue to trust this process. But I said it since the beginning of the season. I said, look, everybody, it's all kumbaya, flowers and rainbows, and we all are so happy until we lose a game. And so how would the Alabama fans react when they lose a game? Now, I didn't anticipate it was Vandy, which is a little bit different, right? Like Georgia, we're okay. But Vandy is different because Alabama does not lose to Vandy. We've had a lot of bad teams that did not lose to Vanderbilt. So this is a team that we just saw beat Georgia and then go and lose to Vanderbilt. And so you got to get those things out of the way. But at least we got the loss out of the way, and we'll see how we react. And they do look scary on defense because they're not doing some things nice, and they're not tackling, and they're blown coverages and other things that you got to get cleaned up. But you got to trust this coach, and he's won everywhere for a reason. And so even the way he handles, even after the South Carolina game, I was pissed off after the game, the way it all went down the stretch. But the team celebrated, and they were happy. And DeBoer was like, I'm proud of this team. And so I don't think Nick would have reacted the same way. But we got to stop talking about Nick. We ain't dating Nick no more. All right, this is Kalen DeBoer's team. And this is how you got to be in love with it, And so you said I do, and we're here for it. We're here for the long haul. And so we can't keep looking back and talking about what this one and that one was. This is who we're with, and let's go with it. And it's going to feel and look a little differently. But when you lose, Zach, they find every reason to be mad about it, right? They're talking about what shirt he's wearing. What color is this? And instead of hey, let's just focus on the games and the task at hand. And I think if they do more of that, we'll be just fine.
Where are you at on Texas, Georgia, Roman Harper? Because I keep on vacillating back and forth. I was Georgia earlier in the week, then Texas, and now I'm like, I feel like this game just means more to Georgia.
No, I definitely think it means more to Georgia. Texas doesn't have a loss. And so, but this game is at home for Texas. And last time they had a big game like this at home, they let Alabama out the gates 2 years ago. And so this is a game that everybody circled on the schedule the moment the schedule came out, that this was the game of the year. And that surely will not let us down. And I'm like you, Zach, I was leaning Georgia. Now I'm probably back Texas. But it's weird because this is a moment where Georgia never gets to play underdog. This is a game where Georgia and Kirby gets to talk about the rat poison and all the other terms that you get to throw out there. And it's easier to be the underdog because nobody's expecting you to do this. And you can use all the fuel and everything up. And you're not going to have to work hard to get Georgia fired up for this game. So this would be very unique. To me, I trust Kirby, but I don't know if I trust Mike Bobo in offense consistently versus this Texas defense that's way underrated. A lot of team speed and a lot of stars in different positions on all three levels. And so that's going to be tough sledding on that side. But then you also have Texas and who they are and who their history tells us is that they slip up and lose one of these games that they're not supposed to every year. I don't know if it's Georgia, but traditionally this is why Texas fans have been optimistically nervous all year long because of all the hype. And they know that, man, we always slip up one way or another. They got past Oklahoma, but Georgia will be the first team that can actually threaten Texas through the air. The only other games that they played, nobody could actually threaten Texas, especially through the air. And so Oklahoma couldn't throw the ball. Michigan, we know, can't throw the ball. And so Georgia will be the first true test for Texas. And so we'll see how it goes. I'm excited for it just for that reason alone.
Before we let you run, Roman Harper, Ole Miss, right, have been disappointing. We thought they would get into the 12-team playoff. Now it's not looking like they will. That opens up the door for Lane and the Lane train to go to Gainesville and be a member of the Florida Gators. How likely do you think
you're already
that is?
starting it? You're already starting it. You already started, Zach.
It's been starting for like a month. Choo-choo. It's been going for a month.
I tried not to get in. I tried Nick Saban that thing and stop talking about hypotheticals, but I guess I get paid to do that. And so, I mean, this is what Lane does. Lane flirts and Lane goes, and he's never been anywhere too long. And we thought, I thought if they went to the playoffs at Ole Miss, it'd be really hard for him to leave. But if they do not go, it definitely looks a lot more likely. But I would say this, though, because if Billy Napier wins that game versus Tennessee, I think he saved his job last week. But good teams find ways to win games and bad teams find ways to lose them. And that's where Florida is right now. They're continue to find ways to lose games, and they got to get that thing cleaned up. So Billy Napier still has a game or two where he can actually win it and save his job before we, get too excited about the Lane train.
All right, I'll let you go back to being dad in just a second and having fun doing everything with the SEC Network. Last question, I promise. I need your thoughts. Last night, Drew Brees gets honored, Saints Hall of Fame. Sean Payton back in town. Broncos kicked the snot out of the Saints. Just give me your feel on Sean coming back, no longer coaching the team. We all know why he retired because he didn't have a quarterback. Now he thinks he has his guy in Bo Nix, and Drew getting honored last night.
Well, Zach, man, I actually had a great time. I don't know if you froze or not, but thank you. I already got Tennessee fans talking trash to me. Are you? Yeah, they're already talking trash to me in the hotel lobby. So, look, I had a great time. I had plenty of drinks. It was great seeing all my teammates back and everything, how much it meant to so many people. And I'll honestly tell you the best story about it all was we were at the Hall of Fame luncheon for Drew. And Sean showed up. Sean, Zach Strief, Pete Carmichael, Lombardi, who was a quarterback's coach for a long time here with the Saints, now with the Broncos. And it was great to see those guys and just like loving on each other. And that really tells you like the bond that football brings to what it does for all of us, right? And then you look up, we give a standing ovation for Sean Payton that he was there, everybody was happy. He gets up there. Can I say what he said? I don't know. What is this show? This is it. Anyways, he said,
we are on the radio, so just if there's a curse, like if you want to say a four-letter word, just say F that.
He said, thanks for all the pleasantries, but F that. I'm going out here to kick your know-what tonight. And then walked off the stage. It was beautiful. It was total Sean Payton move. It was everything that Sean is encapsulated in 5 seconds. And it was perfect. And then they went out there and did their thing last night. It was, man, and everybody was all out there. And the vibes were supposed to be right. And the team's just too beat up. Like, it's just really tough to be a Saints fan with all the injuries. And it's like, how overreactive do you want to be? I'm glad that Mickey and the GM and the ownership group, they're very much so solid in place, and they're not overreactive for fans and to the mob. You know, you want to see this team be the best version of themselves, but how can you when everybody's hurt? And I have no excuses for any team because nobody cares. Mm-hmm. But it was great for Denver to go out there and get that win and for Sean to come back. Trust me, nobody wanted that win more than anybody than Sean Payton did last night.
So did the reception and the reaction when he said that, was it like positive, or did he get like a little friendly booing and like, no, screw you, coach?
Oh, no, they booed him the whole way out after that. It was like, well, as a matter of fact, we didn't even want to cheer for you anyways. That's exactly what happened. It was really funny. And then the guy who was Ken Trahan, who's over the whole Hall of Fame committee, he just started talking trash the whole way as Sean was walking out. It was like, why did you even give him the mic to have that power for 5 seconds? And then he just totally went sideways. It was great, though. It was hilarious.
Classic story indeed. Roman Harper, appreciate it. Thanks so much for doing this today.
Zach, man, always, man. Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
You got it. There he is, Roman Harper, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. How about that? Sean Payton shows up, right? Drew Brees ceremony the night before, day before. Give a little speech. I'm going to kick your ass, and then gets booed off the stage. That's awesome. All righty, we'll take a timeout. We'll come on back when we do return. Why the Saints, Steelers, Patriots, and Broncos, what an interesting foursome, all have something in common. Sports fans, listen up. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks can be a side effect. That's why Depends is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage screening, because health is a long game and it's yours to win. Now, here's the cool part. Through November, Depends is contributing up to $300,000 to prostate cancer research by donating 40 cents for every purchase of Shields guards and Real Fit products. Void in Mississippi. Learn more at Depend.com.
You're in a 4.5 minute break. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
This portion of the Zach Gelb Show is brought to you by Sleeper. Just download the Sleeper app today and use code SCORE when signing up. Must be present in certain states. Visit sleeper.com for details. Sponsored by Sleeper, a Blitz product. Okay. Saints, Steelers, Patriots, Broncos all have something in common. Steelers had a legendary quarterback. You may have heard of him, Big Ben. Saints had a legendary quarterback. You may have heard of him, Drew Brees. Broncos had a legendary quarterback. You may have heard of him, the Sheriff, Peyton Manning. And then the Patriots had the greatest quarterback of all time, Tommy Brady. Look at what the Steelers, Saints, Patriots, and Broncos have done since then. The Steelers, I think we may need the rest of the show for the Steelers and the Broncos to talk about all the potential guys that they brought in to try to replace Big Ben and Peyton Manning. The Saints, it's like, have they even started that process yet? Like, seriously started that process? Like, I don't know about you, Stu. I look at the Saints. They go on out. They thought Taysom Hill was going to be the guy. And Taysom Hill is basically just more of a backup tight end in this league and like a gadget player as well. So that's who the big thought was by Sean Payton. You know, they had Jameis Winston on the roster too. But the big swing by the Saints, and is it really a big swing? It's like a medium-sized swing. Was when they gave that contract to Derek Carr. But did anyone actually think, Derek Carr was the next franchise guy? No, he's a placeholder. That's what Derek Carr is. So the Steelers and the Saints, the Patriots, and the Broncos, let's just evaluate those four teams. Because it's kind of crazy with how long now Big Ben has been out of the game, Stu, that the Steelers haven't really taken a swing yet. You know, Kenny Pickett in the first round when only one quarterback goes in the first round and you were picking at 20th, that's not a big swing. That's like making a gamble, like a little investment. And that only lasted for, a year and a half. It's like they had Mason Rudolph. You got Duck Hodges. Trubisky's going to come on in here and he's going to be, unbelievable. Like, come on. And now we got to deal with, Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. Like, none of those guys are the guy. So the Steelers haven't taken a big swing yet. And then you have, as well, the Saints, like, they haven't taken a big swing either. And the Broncos, they've taken swings. But Sean is hitching his wagon now to Bo Nix. And I know, right, who would have thought the Broncos, by the way, would be sitting here with 4 wins right now? But are they winning because of Bo Nix? No, they're not. And the Patriots, they took one swing. I don't think Mac Jones was a big swing. Mac Jones was sitting there, fell to them in the draft. They took him. But taking a quarterback 3rd overall in Drake May, that is a big swing. So it's kind of crazy when you look at, and I know that Peyton Manning, right, is more known for being a Colt, unless if Hickey's in the studio, then all we do is tell him that he's remembered for being a Denver Bronco, because that gets under Hickey's skin like no other. But you had 4 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, 4 all-time great quarterbacks, and Brady, Manning, Breeze, and Big Ben. And here we are all these years removed, and you still don't feel great with any of those quarterback situations. Like, at least the Patriots and Broncos right now could sell you on hope, because we haven't seen necessarily yet enough to say that Bo Nix isn't the guy, even though there's not enough to say he is the guy. And for Drake May, he's only started 1 game. And quite frankly, I was thoroughly impressed with what I saw out of Drake May, considering the circumstances, up against the Houston Texans and this 9:30 a.m. game coming up on Sunday Eastern time in London. I'll tell you this. I'm not going to bet the Patriots this weekend in terms of my picks on the show, but a 6.5 point spread, the Jaguars shouldn't be a 6.5 point favorite up against any team. So I think it's a smart play to take the Patriots plus the points, but it's crazy how many years have elapsed now, Stu, and none of these organizations have been able to fully cement and put the flag in the ground and say, okay, we've at least found our next guy. Not that the guy's going to be a Hall of Famer, but it just shows you how good they've had it and how great they had it and now how tough it gets, where sure, the Saints are never like brutal and terrible. They're like an 8-9 win team each and every year post Drew Brees. You know, the Steelers, they always are right in the playoff race, but they haven't won a playoff game since 2016. The Patriots, right, they went through Mac. Now we'll see what happens with Drake May. And the Broncos have been on what? Quarterback like 923 since Peyton Manning left. But this is the one where Sean is now the coach. You have belief in the coach, and he made his big claim in taking Bo Nix with the 12th overall pick, when really no one thought Bo Nix was going to be a top 15 draft pick or the 12th overall pick in the draft. So it shows you how tough it is to find the guy once you had the guy for all those years, and you got to take some serious swings. But Steelers and Saints haven't taken serious swings. At least the Patriots and Broncos have.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm most surprised at the Steelers because you have the infrastructure of the great head coach, and they've at least drafted a few guys, you know, between Trubisky and Pickett.
Teams.
And even in this offseason, I was like, okay, they're cooking with something here. I didn't know if it was going to be Russ or Fields. One of them, still to be determined, obviously. But the fact that they haven't found that guy yet, to me, I think of the 4 is the most surprising.
Yeah, and also because the Steelers, right, like, are a good destination. Like, that destination has not taken a hit in terms of the public perception of players since Big Ben has left. Like, people still look at the Steelers and are like, oh, Mike Tomlin, good coach, would love to play for him. The Saints, yeah, great place to live in New Orleans, but no one's, like, dying to go to the Saints. The Patriots, look how quickly that's turned upside down. Brandon Ayuk, they offered him $35 million a year. He wouldn't even go there in a trade. And, like, the Broncos, that has been kind of one of the joke teams of the NFL the last year and a half with the Russ stuff. And then when they finally bench Russ, it wasn't really all that perceived to be popular last year. And a lot of people were going after Sean Payton because they didn't like that they basically threatened Russ, hey, you don't alter your contract, then we're going to sit you down, even though they were finally starting to win games. So you're right on that in that regard. The Steelers are the one that are most surprising that they haven't been able to find the guy because the infrastructure is still viewed as pretty solid, and they also have a really good roster. Like, there's legitimate flaws in the Saints roster, legitimate flaws, big flaws in the Patriots and Broncos roster. The Steelers are a quarterback away, but they haven't been able to find even an above average or an average quarterback since Big Ben has left. Because say what you want about Fields, they're not winning games right now because of Fields. They're winning games with Fields. And now you're going to Russell Wilson in the last 2 years. It has just kind of crashed and burned for Russell Wilson in the NFL. Hey, Marco, let me ask you something. Because you're usually the voice of reason and the voice of accountability. And also, you're a no-nonsense type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you ask me a question, you don't want the fluff. You just want the answer. Get to the point.
100%.
Keep it moving.
Yep.
What Mike Tomlin's doing right now, I understand there's gamesmanship. But when the reporters already have it, whether it's Schefter or Pelissero, that the intention is to start Russell Wilson this upcoming Sunday evening up against the New York Jets, for him today to say, I already told my team who's going to start, but I'm not going to tell you guys. And then George Pickens, right, basically spills the beans with his answer saying, it's going to be Russ's first start, so I've been spending more time with him. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, Mike Tomlin's a heck of a coach. Hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. But there's like a little bit of an act with Mike Tomlin that a lot of people like. But this, like, I'm not going to tell you who's the starting quarterback when you basically already have told enough people or let the word get out of the organization. And the media had it earlier in the week. Like, I just don't get what he's doing. I don't see the benefit here.
I think he looks at it as just a little bit of gamesmanship, and if there's any doubt in the Jets' heads, then that's the benefit of it. I don't think it's any more than that. I don't think Tomlin's looking at it as a psychological thing. I don't think he's looking at it as a Justin Fields, I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't think he cares. I don't think it's that he doesn't want to anoint Russell Wilson. I don't think it's any of that. I think he thinks that there's some shred of doubt for the Jets, and that could maybe play in their factor. Now, do I believe that? No. Mm-hmm. And I think he knows in his heart of hearts that doesn't matter. But he's thinking that if there's anything that they took them an extra 3 hours to prepare a little bit more for Fields plus Wilson, that's a benefit to us. Okay. And I think he's looking at straight at that.
I think the only way that this works is they have made everyone think that it's going to be Russell Wilson. Right? Everyone thinks this is Russell Wilson on Sunday. So the only way to me that this actually creates an advantage is if you start Justin Fields. And this is a big, giant mind bleep, and they've really played it that much. But I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, but it's also Friday. Now, think about it. The Jets' preparation was done Tuesday.
Yeah, but
coming off Monday night.
This stuff was out from the reporters early in the week.
Both. They had to prepare for both. They didn't know. Tuesday, you couldn't have told me 100% who's starting. So I think he was just looking at it as, now, why on Friday? I think he's just keeping up with it. I really don't. I don't think it's much more than that because I don't think Tomlin is
keeping up with the bit.
Yeah, I don't think Tomlin's looking at it like, again, some coaches would be a little leery about throwing their guy under the bus. How is this going to play with the rest of the locker room? I don't think Tomlin's concerned with all that. I think this is straight gamesmanship with the Jets, who's had to prepare all week long for both. And I think he wants them to continue to prepare for both. Now, have the Jets started to focus more on Russell Wilson? I'm sure they have.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But they got to keep in mind that Justin Fields could still see the field, so they still got to make sure that they're prepared for both. Does it alter their game plan that much? Can't imagine that it does, but it is a little different, and that's all Tomlin wants.
Yeah, to me, this is a bunch of nonsense. That's what it is to me.
It is. And again, if you look.
Now, today, I'm the no-nonsense guy. I have no tolerance today for this nonsense.
They're also similar type players. I mean, we're not talking about a guy that – this is not like am I preparing for Anthony Richardson or Joe Flacco, where it's totally different.
I think it's tougher with Fields because he's more mobile.
No, but Fields and Wilson, it's not that much different. It really isn't. Fields is a little bit more mobile, but let's not make it seem like Russell Wilson's a statue. He can move around. Now, he's not going to necessarily get you some of the rushing yardage, but he likes to move around to be able to throw. These are not two totally different types of players. So is it that much different? Is it that much gamesmanship? No, but Tomlin's kind of old school. If I can get any advantage I can get, that's an advantage for us. And I think that's all he's looking for.
It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will do a little onside, offside on the other side. Update time first, though. Here is El Capitan, Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network, Sports Flash.
Zach, Dodgers looking for that first trip to the World Series since they won it in 2020 and turning it to Jack Flaherty to try to finish off the Mets in 5.
It feels good. I think that we've done a good job putting ourselves in this position. I sort of like the us against the world attitude that our guys are sort of taking on. I think that's kind of ironic, with the Dodgers. but I like that.
Manager Dave Roberts' Game 5 of the NLCS comes up top of the hour. Then later, it's the Guardians trying to even up the ALCS to 2 games apiece with the Yankees after their come-from-behind extra-inning walk-off in Game 3. College hoops still surprised by the resignation of Tony Bennett at Virginia. Bennett explained he just wasn't ready to give this job his undivided attention anymore.
If you're going to do it, you got to be all in. You got to have everything. And if you do it half-hearted, it's not fair to the university and those young men.
Steelers haven't made it official. All signs, though, point to Russell Wilson getting the start against the Jets Sunday night, taking over for Justin Fields, who, of course, led Pittsburgh to a 4-2 start on the season. And the Browns are getting Nick Chubb back against the Bengals for the first time since his leg injury in 2023. Jerome Ford has been ruled out. I'm Marco Belletti.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Before we get to onside, offside, and Stu asked me the questions, can I ask you a question first, Stu?
Sure.
Last night, I saw a tweet. And the tweet was from our very own Ryan Hot Take Hickey.
Oh, boy.
At 10:19 p.m. Eastern Time. He said, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but the Mets are toast. He then follows it up 20 minutes ago saying, every single time you thought the Mets were dead, 0-5 to start, D-backs lost, Braves game, Brewers game 3, they got off the mat. I refuse to believe this incredible season ends going out in a whimper to the Dodgers. They are winning tonight, and they are winning the series. Book it. Onside or offside? Hot Take Hickey does not believe what he just tweeted because last night he said the season was toast, but today he's talking about them winning the series.
Does not believe, I would say that's onsides.
Yeah, I think he's a fraud.
I agree. Hot take Hickey.
And, I like it better when he's doubting the team. Because I thought, okay, maybe we could win up against the Hickey Hacks and they would come on back because he finally jumped off the bandwagon. Now that he's back on, I don't know.
Yeah.
The Mets are fighting two teams, the Dodgers and the Hickey Hacks. All right, what do we got cooking?
All right, so the Ravens have won 4 straight after starting the season 0-2, and reigning MVP Lamar Jackson is on pace for his best season. Now that Jackson has moved up to 3rd in the MVP odds, the team has adopted the moniker MV3 for Lamar as he hopes to earn his 3rd MVP award. Yeah,
I don't like that.
Though Lamar Jackson himself is not paying too much attention to it.
I really don't care about the hype, and not just being on 2. I just know how the NFL works. It's any given Sunday, so I'm not finna dwell on an MVP trophy or anything like that. I never have, even when I won it. I never dwelled on it. It was about me just trying to win each and every game I'm in. And same thing from now. I'm still trying to win these games to get to February and win in February.
So onsides, offsides, if the season ended today, Lamar would be the MVP.
He gets it, his teammates don't. That's what I just learned from that. It's not about winning another MVP, it's about winning the Super Bowl. And that's what he said. Now his teammates should reflect that. And also, when I think of the Ravens this year, nothing against Lamar, I love Lamar. The MVP that I think of is Derrick Henry, not Lamar Jackson. And right now, I think if you made me have 2 votes for the MVP in the NFL, I would either give it to TJ Watt, who's the best defensive player in football right now, or Derrick Henry, who's been the best offensive player in football, in my opinion, through the first 6 weeks of the season. So onside, offside, the season end today, Lamar would be the NFL MVP. Offside.
Offside.
Now, the NFC North is on fire, boasting the only remaining undefeated team in the Vikings, while the Lions are 4-1 and the Packers and Bears are both 4-2. The 4 teams have combined for 13 straight wins between them and rank 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the NFL in margin of victory. So onsides, offsides, the NFC North will get at least 3 teams into the playoffs.
Onsides, because I think the NFC East is only going to send 1 team. you could get an additional team from either the West or maybe even the South. When I look at the North, you got 7 spots. 1 goes to the division winner, and you got 3 wild card. I think there will be 2. You're going to tell me the Lions aren't going to make the playoffs, the Packers aren't going to make the playoffs, the Vikings aren't going to make the playoffs. I know the Bears are getting hot, but yeah, those 3 teams right now, Lions, Vikings, and the Packers would be your 3 playoff teams right now from the NFC North, in my opinion, on sides. I have a tough time seeing any of those 3 miss.
Now, speaking of the Lions, some were upset that they ran up the score last week against the Cowboys, including multiple trick plays late in the game with a huge lead. One of the people upset is the former governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie.
That's Dan Campbell. He's got no class. Never has. So
really?
It's fine. It's fine. Look, Dan Campbell, that's the way he is. And what goes around comes around. Look, and I think that it's misdirected. Dan Campbell's angry because the referees got a call wrong in the game a year ago. Well, then, run that play on Roger Goodell. The Cowboys had nothing to do with the play being called incorrectly, but now, so because of that, you want to take your peak out over that while you're, beating the hell out of these guys and rub it in. I don't think that's what pros do, but it's his prerogative. It's the reputation that he'll carry around. And quite frankly, I think most people think that's his rep now anyway.
All right, that sound courtesy of Mad Dog Radio. So onside, offsides, Dan Campbell and the Lions were wrong for running up the score on Dallas.
Another lost politician that thinks he knows what the people think and want, and he just doesn't get it. Yeah, people don't look at Dan Campbell and say he's classless. People loved what he did up against the Cowboys. And stop with this participation trophy society, Chris Christie. It's a 60-minute game. How about the Cowboys actually show up for about 30 seconds of the game? All right, enough with you. Go in the luxury box, jump up and down, and suck off on the teat of one Jerry Jones like you do each and every time when you go there and you embarrass yourself. All right? Stop being an ass, Chris Christie. Maybe you should have some class and stop being an ass. Why does even Mad Dog Russo, a radio legend, have Chris Christie on right now to talk about the Cowboys? What? Because his son works for the Mets, I'm assuming. A mutual guest, politics. We could do a little baseball with the former governor, and we'll talk some Cowboys. Good work. Nicely produced, Eddie Erickson. Okay? Well, geez Louise. Do we need Chris Christie being the voice of reason for football? Shut up. Go close the bridges again. Was that a classy move when you did that? To get your fat ass probably down to the shore? Jeez. Enough with him. Oh, Dan Campbell. Oh, he's classless. Jerry Jones, real classy man. The guy that you're jumping up and down with in the luxury box. Yeah, real classy what he did to my guys. Sean and RJ, how mean he was to them. Please. So, what was even the question? The Lions were wrong for running up the score on Dallas. No. Offside. Shut up, Chris Christie. Shut up. As Scott Farrell would say, you fat ass. Shut up, you fat ass.
So last night, the Dodgers took a commanding...
All right, I'm in a good mood today for the first time today.
3-1. Well, I don't know how long it's going to last. 3-1 series lead over the Mets thanks to a 10-2 drubbing at Citi Field.
You a-hole.
Their 3 wins in the NLCS. The Dodgers have outscored the Mets 27-2 and are outscoring their opponents 40-9 over the last 6 postseason games. So onsides, offsides, if you were betting, you would choose the Dodgers over the field.
To win the World Series?
That's right.
Yeah. Onsides. Next question.
It's a strong take there.
Yeah. Tough one.
The number 16 Indiana Hoosiers are surprising 6-0 on the season and face off against freshman phenom Dylan Raiola in Nebraska this weekend.
Big Red! Go Big Red!
While the record looks great, 3 of their wins came against non-Power 5 teams, and the 3 Power 5 teams that they did beat have a combined record of 7-11, and they will end the season with Michigan, Ohio State, and Purdue. Onsides, offsides, Indiana will make the college football playoffs.
I like Nebraska to win this weekend. And here's the reason why. What Indiana's doing right now is so special to be undefeated at this point of the season. The hype is deserved. But usually in college football, it feels like, at least this year, whenever a team gets really hyped up, they immediately get torn down the following week. This has been the week of Indiana hype. I think Dylan Raiola and that defense led by Tony White with Nebraska, they find a way to get a victory. So, you're going to lose to Nebraska. It's only one loss on the year, but then you still play Ohio State. I don't think Indiana. They got a chance, but I don't think they're going to make the college football playoff. Offside.
Offsides.
All right, we'll squeeze one more in here. Georgia won back-to-back national titles, but missed the playoffs last year and lost to Alabama already this year. Now Kirby Smart's team got another big loss. This time they lost the number one quarterback in the 2026 class, Jared Curtis, as he decommitted from the Bulldogs and reopened his recruitment. So onsides, offsides, Georgia is no longer the dominant program in college football.
I don't think there is a dominant program right now in college football. Like, Georgia has been the standard the last 3 years. They won 2 national championships. Their only loss last year was to Alabama, but then Alabama beat them this year again. So to me, Texas is a great story, but let's see if they beat Georgia this weekend. I think this is the year where college football is wide open. So Georgia's no longer the dominant program in college football. I would go offside. I would actually go onside, because Georgia, they lose this weekend. That's 2 losses. You got to tell me that they're a dominant program with 2 losses? They're a great program, but I don't think there is a dominant program in college football right now. So I would go onsides on that one. All righty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. When we come on back, 3 things to watch this weekend in college football. Paul Pass will join us coming up 25 minutes from now for NFL picks, and also a lot on the line in the NFL, which we'll do at 5:40 p.m. Eastern.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. – 2 minutes remaining. 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 2 minutes 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Yo, how we doing? It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. I have a food point to make right here, and then I will get to 3 things to watch this weekend in college football. Now, I'm not going to pretend to be somebody that I'm not. Like, there will be radio hosts and there will be blowhards that will get on the air, and they'll be like, yeah, I tried this, yeah, I tried that, and they haven't. But I did see something last night on the way to the Mets game that I was very intrigued by. And I've heard about it a lot. I've been told for a long time you got to try it. It's new that they opened this up in Penn Station. And my senses tell me that Stu has definitely tried this. I don't know why. I just feel like Stu has definitely tried this. But last night, I'm like, I don't want to eat back-to-back nights of ballpark food. I had my chicken fingers and fries the night before, so I ended up going across the street yesterday before I got on the train to get to Penn Station to take the Long Island Railroad to Citi Field, and I got some brown rice, some grilled chicken, and a little side of lettuce. And then the Mets went down all those runs, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go get a slice of pizza, and I'm going to go get some peanuts at the game. So that's what I ate ballpark food-wise at the stadium. I didn't want to eat like 2 nights of gluttonous ballpark food. But when I'm on the train, this kid must have been like 15 years old with his father, and they're sitting next to me. And they went to Raising Cane's before the game happened and right before they got on the train because it's in Penn Station. And let me tell you something. Fat Zach was looking over at that Raising Cane's, and my mouth was watering. So they had the French fries, they had the Raising Cane sauce, 3 chicken fingers, which looked to die for. And then I was like, what's that? I'm like, oh, that's Texas toast. And you can make like a little sandwich out of it too. That looked, Stu, really damn good. And I'm just going out on a limb here. But I think I know you well enough, Stu. You have tried Raising Cane's before.
Yes. So surprisingly, only once, and I got it, I believe, last winter.
Okay.
They have like a Midtown location.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my girlfriend have both never had it before. We had it for the first time, and it is incredible.
Really?
It's really good. The chicken's really good. The sauce is really good. And like you said, the bread, the Texas toast kind of like makes it all to kind of puts it all together, if you will.
So the chicken looked like it was to die for.
Yes.
The fries, I was like iffy on. The fries
are fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
but I've seen
exactly.
better looking fries. But I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the bread and I'm like, what kind of bread is that?
Yeah.
And the bread looked the bread actually, and the chicken looked really good. Don't get me wrong. But the bread actually looked like the best part.
Yeah, it's
It
so
looked like French toast.
It's like so buttery and just it just like is perfect with the chicken and the sauce.
So the next time I'm in Penn Station, or if I'm having like a lazy Saturday, which I have a lot of lazy Saturdays of college football on, and if I want to go the gluttonous route on a Saturday, I may have to try and hit up some Raisin Canes. I also want to try next time I'm down south Whataburger, because I always hear how great that is. Who was the basketball coach? It was Chris Beard. I'll never forget this. I'm doing the weekend overnights, and it was when they punched their ticket with Texas Tech to the Final Four. And he goes, by the way, I know you have a national radio show and you're on a lot of stations in Texas. This is Chris Beard, who's now at Ole Miss. When he's at Texas Tech, he goes, if anyone's listening right now, they want to meet us at the airport. And he gave us his whole order at Whataburger and what he wanted. So I'm also intrigued to try that too. But Raisin Cane's opened up in New York City. And I'm like, it's the first time I have heard about it. I think Marash, of course, he brought it in one day. And I said, oh, what was that thing you brought in? Because it smelled really good. He's like, oh, Raisin Cane's. Unbelievable. But I finally got to see it in person. And it looked real, and it definitely looked spectacular. There's no doubt about that. All righty. 3 things to watch this weekend in college football. Number 1, can Texas show that they are really back? Last year, Texas, they found a way to make the college football playoff. They won the Big 12. It wasn't one of those mocking things like we usually do with Sam Ehlinger when we were like, we're back. That was Texas actually being back. But now they have to re-show in a different standard that Texas is actually back. Because it's one thing to dominate and beat up on the Big 12. It's another thing to do it in the SEC. And right now, they're the number 1 team in the country. They got the quarterback in Quinn Ewers. They got the quarterback even for next year in Arch Manning. And this is a year in college football where it's wide open. Alabama has looked human. Georgia has looked human. You take a glance. Oregon, I know they haven't lost yet, and they just had a big win up against Ohio State, but the first 2 games of their season, they looked human. Ohio State just dropped one. They look human. Penn State, I don't think they're going to win a national championship. So college football is wide open. And you got the coach in Sark. You got the quarterback. You are well-rounded. And you have just an unbelievable offensive line. And you're really solid in the trenches defensively, too. This is a moment where Texas fans can start to legitimately taste a national championship team if they beat Georgia this weekend. Because it was one thing to stomp Michigan. Michigan doesn't have a quarterback. If it was Michigan last year, different story. But Michigan in 2024, not good. This is the test. Because Georgia the last 3 years has been the standard. Georgia, I kind of feel like when I watch Georgia, they're like begging to be put out of their misery. It's like, hey, we've been so good, but a little complacency has kind of settled in. And I know they won the last 2 weeks, but like, it's Auburn and Mississippi State. They were just getting pantsed by Alabama. Okay, they showed the heart of the champion in the second half, but they didn't play great up against Kentucky. Stoops, right? We talked about that with him on this show. The decision to punt, they only beat Kentucky by 1 point. Like, Georgia's there for the taking. And now it's up to Texas to show, hey, this is our time. We are the team. We are the team in college football for this upcoming year. So I want to see if Texas could really show that Texas, hey, we're back. And not just back and like, oh, we're winning the Big 12. Oh, we're in the college football playoff. Oh, the SEC is ours. College football, all the conferences, it's ours. That's a message that Texas could send this weekend. Number 2, and Roman Harper touched on it. Alabama's defense has been bad. Tennessee's offense was humming. It was all the way up here at the beginning of the year, and now it has slowly come on down. Nico Iamaleava is looking like a way that a freshman quarterback is supposed to look. Not the way that he was looking earlier in the year, which was out of this world, just absolutely ridiculous. In this one, it's right now, it's usually when you break down these games, it's strength versus strength, right? And who's going to win out? But right now, it's weakness versus weakness. And which weakness is not going to be great? It's not going to be good. Which weakness is going to just be a little bit better than the other team's weak unit? Because right now, the Tennessee offense is their weakness. The Alabama defense is their weakness. Like Vanderbilt had the ball for so long. It's not like Alabama couldn't score in that game. They scored. They put up points. But that Vanderbilt offense just took it to the Alabama Crimson Tide defense. So I want to see which weakness won't even turn into a strength, but will be a little bit better than the other part of where the opposing team really struggles when they go up and they come ahead and they meet up with that Alabama defense up against that Tennessee offense. And then finally, I look at Miami, and I was used as a little bit of clickbait this week by my buddies Hochman and Crowder on 560 WQAM. And I forget exactly what the headline was, but they asked me if my Heisman ballot was due tomorrow, who would be the 3 names. So the headline is this. I just pulled it up. Shaming Zach Gelb because he has 2 players ahead of Cam Ward for the Heisman. Stu, you have done headlines on YouTube for us. You have done headlines for us on our Odyssey app where you put the podcast title up. This is our company, Odyssey, on an affiliate that I do weekly hits, and I don't get an extra penny for it. I just do it because I like Hochman and Crowder and Alejandro Solana and their friends. Their headline, to use me as if I'm like some cash cow, and they're just using me like I'm a filthy animal, is shaming Zach Gelb because he has 2 players ahead of Cam Ward for the Heisman. If there's ever been clickbait that I've ever seen, that is the definition of clickbait to a T. You would concur?
Definitely, yes.
Mm-hmm. That is like, hey, we want you to tweet Zach Gelb. We want you to harass Zach Gelb. And we want you to attack Zach Gelb.
Shaming Zach Gelb.
Shaming Zach Gelb. And I don't think they did that good of a job shaming me. Now, that's a very fun show. So it's like, it's one of those shows, like, you know, how kind of Lebitard, if you don't listen, and then you tune in, you're like, I don't get the joke. You got to listen to Hochman and Crowder to get the joke. I'm in on the joke, so I'm good with it. But when I see the headline, shaming Zach Gelb because he has 2 players ahead of Cam Ward for the Heisman, I find it very funny. But then, it's like I look at the Heisman, and I do. I have Ashton Genty 1 right now, Travis Hunter 2. And then I did put Cam Ward 3, and they were offended. Well, Miami's coming off a bye week. I like Mario Cristobal a lot. Can you catch the ball? Sorry, I'm watching the Met game on. To no surprise, Shohei Ohtani gets a base hit, and then Mookie Betts hits the ball to right field. Starling Marte tries to make a sliding catch. The ball hit him in the glove, and he dropped it. So it's 2nd and 3rd, no out. Oh, catch the ball. It's right in the webbing of your glove. How do you drop that? How do you drop that? Oh, that's terrible. Terrible. But anyway, the point that I was getting to Cam Ward. See, now Samter is just obnoxious. He just waved to me like, oh, bye-bye. You know what? I cannot wait. I have no reason to root against the Yankees. Sorry, Stu, because this is not you being obnoxious. It's Samter being obnoxious. But when the Yankees get eliminated in the World Series, by the Mets, I mean the Dodgers, I can't wait to just have some payback. Because remember, Samter, remember when he was wearing that Jet jersey? And he was like, oh, the Patriots, how you guys doing? Jets haven't won a game since then. All right? So that wave, that little wave that Samter just gave me is going to come back to bite his Yankees in the ass. Well, Santa's probably rooting for the Dodgers because he's been through some tough times with the Yankees the last few years. He probably started rooting for the Dodgers, if we're being honest. But Miami this weekend, I want to see if they're going to get upset or not. And I like Mario Cristobal. I like Cam Ward. It would be very college football, though, because Louisville is a team that, right, they were 3-0. They had 2 tests. They lose to Notre Dame. Right, then they lose to SMU. All the air just goes out of the Louisville balloon. They beat Virginia, whatever. But that's still a good program coached by Jeff Brom. And Miami, they were down big to Cal, and they needed everything to come on back. I just wonder if this is the moment where Louisville starts to look like Louisville of last year and the team that people thought they could be this year. So I want to see if Miami gets upset this week. Because you look at Miami's schedule the rest of the way, Louisville, Florida State, Duke, even though Manny Diaz is doing a good job there this year. Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Syracuse. It's a very easy schedule for Miami, but you just showed last week you needed a late effort up against Cal. All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. The Dodgers are still second and third, but now there's 2 outs, Mets and Dodgers, and now it's an 0-2 count. So if the Mets get out of this inning, just remember that obnoxious wave that Samter gave to me. That could be the turning point of this season. That could be the turning point of this series. Let's just see what happens with Peterson, and it's going to get fouled away. I can't do play-by-play. I'm not doing play-by-play. We will not do play-by-play. That was not play-by-play, if you are listening. By the way, real quickly, as I'm just stalling here to see what happens at the end of the inning because I want to do this while we're on the air. But I will get to this point. Tony Bennett had no health issues. I thought at first yesterday when he's announcing right before the start of the season that he's walking away that Tony Bennett had a health issue. That's just what I thought. He clearly walked away because name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal has got to him. Now, he was very emotional at this press conference. I watched the entirety of it. So it's tough for me when he shows that emotion and he's a good guy to really crush him. So I'm not going to crush him. But this idea, as the Mets get out of the inning, thank you, Samter. But this idea that Tony Bennett couldn't have made this decision earlier in the offseason is just a bunch of bull junk to me, if I'm being honest. I heard what he said, the transfer portal picks up right away. You got to be so busy. I get that. But going on a vacation with your wife right before the start of the season is when you have that epiphany, I can't coach anymore. I know he's been thinking about this. And I know people are going to spin it, it's actually a good guy move because he would have done this a few months ago. Maybe the guy and his staff wouldn't become the interim coach to get to prove himself. Come on. To do this 2 weeks before the start of the season, that's what I don't like. I don't like doing this 2 weeks before the start of the season because if there was a player that got up 2 weeks before the start of the season and left the program, we'd all be crushing the player. But since a coach does it and Tony Bennett's a good guy, which he is, and congratulations, people then, they try to give him outs. All I'm saying with Tony Bennett, and I liked the emotion today, you could tell how tough a decision this is. I understand it's not easy to navigate the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness, but let's not act like this is digging ditches for a living, all right? You get paid a lot of money to do so, okay? So if you have to deal with the transfer portal, name, image, and likeness, and now, you don't think you're the best guy for the job, come on. You could have made this decision 4 months ago, and that's just what doesn't sit well with me. So that's my stalling point as we get the reaction at the end of the first inning for the Mets and the Dodgers. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a break. Paul Pass will join us on the other side. We will do some NFL picks. Sports fans, listen up. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks could be a side effect. That's why Depend is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage screening, because health is a long game, and it's yours to win. Now, here's the cool part. Through November, Depend is contributing up to $300,000 to prostate cancer research by donating 40 cents
for every purchase of shields, guards, and Real Fit products. Void in Mississippi. Learn more at Depend.com.
You're in a 4.5-minute break. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Paul Pass is here with us from the Dan Patrick Show. And also, let's not bury the lead. He has a new program on 670 The Score in Chicago, which is obviously an Odyssey station. It's called The Tailgate. Every Saturday morning, they do a bunch of Bears, NFL talk, college football. He'll wine and dine you through that show as well. And a very interesting relationship with Paul. I don't have his cell phone number. We talk via DM all the time, and I see him like every year at the Super Bowl. So like you're like a sugar daddy for this program when it comes to radio, I would say.
Yeah, we're kind of like the Kentucky Derby. You spend about 7 minutes a year with me. You know, you see me at the Super Bowl, we hug, we say nice things about each other, and then I don't see you for about 11 months. That's how it works.
Yeah, you know what it actually is? It's like there's a relationship through someone that you got divorced with. Like you got divorced with Perloff, right. And since I'm friendly with Perloff and you guys still want to be like amicable and see each other, that's how the relationship, I guess, did form.
Well, Perloff and I had a mutual understanding. We had a mutual parting. You know, it went well. He still comes, visits me. We hang out in Vermont. He comes to the house. So he and I are still boys. So we're all good.
All right. Before we get to NFL picks, I'm very distracted with your background. I'm just curious. What is your favorite sports memorabilia? Like, you've been doing this for a long time. You probably have some kick-ass sports memorabilia. What's the one item? Like if something, God forbid, was going wrong, like house was burning down, and they said you could save one sports memorabilia item, what would it be?
Sports memorabilia. I have some weird ones. I don't have really classic ones. You know, I do have my father's Letterman sweater. My dad played high school football with Dick Butkus at Chicago Vocational High School.
Really?
And I still have the letter. Yeah, they played high school football together, and they were good friends. And that's my prized item if I ran out of the house. I would say I have some Walter Payton related things. He's my all-time favorite athlete. If you see my office here, you can see it's all over the place. I do have an autographed box of Wheaties. Remember when Walter Payton was on the box of Wheaties? He signed it, and I got a hold of one, and it wasn't in front of me, but I got it, and it's an actual Walter Payton autograph on a box of Wheaties. And the Wheaties are still in it. They haven't been eaten yet. I will eat them someday out of respect to Walter, even though they've been sitting for almost 30 years.
Yeah, I would say my favorite sports memorabilia item, and it's funny, right, that you mentioned the family side of it, is my dad, when he was living in Philadelphia, as I just got distracted, the Mets hit a 3-run home run to take the lead here in game 1 of the NLCS. So game 5 of the NLCS. So I may be ahead of you. Whoa. So I'm a little distracted. But to answer your question, or my question, and just to continue the conversation, my dad, when he was in Philadelphia, got a fight poster of Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. So he got it signed by Joe Frazier. For years, he was waiting to meet Muhammad Ali, and he would carry this thing in his car, like anywhere he would go, just in case if he ever was in a spot where Muhammad Ali was. So he had it in his car when WFAN used to be at Kaufman Astoria Studios. And there's a bunch of entertainment things that did go on there. And the Cosby Show was taped there. So Bill Cosby was having dinner with Muhammad Ali. So my dad waited outside of like the room where they would have dinner, and Cosby comes out and he shows him the fight poster, and then Ali invites him in, signs it, and as he's signing it, like he looks up at my dad and goes like this when he sees Joe Frazier and does a little punching moment. So since that has been passed down and how much it meant to my dad, that's probably my favorite sports memorabilia item.
That's pretty cool. I've seen, back in the day when I was a lot younger, I saw Muhammad Ali twice in my life, once in an airport and once at a health club. And just to let people know how famous he is and how the reaction was, we were in the airport, O'Hare Airport, and here comes Ali. And he's a pretty tall guy. And everyone just turned their head and looked, and people's mouths were open, and no one walked up to him. And it was like seeing, I don't even know, like Babe Ruth or I don't know what, but people were just like, God, that's the greatest. And I can remember it was like a wave of heat just went up on my body. I'm like, I was 13 years old and I knew, I'm like, that's Muhammad Ali. Holy cow. And still today, I get little goosebumps just for a 10-second breeze by.
Who's the guest through all the years working with Dan? And like Dan to me is the best interviewer in the business. And all the big names, they love going on with Dan. Like, who's the one when you guys were sitting there, whether it's in studio or via phone, via Zoom, whatever, that you're just like, man, I can't believe this dude's on the show?
Yeah, that happens occasionally. Off the top of my head, we were in Pebble Beach, and we were doing the show out there for AT&T DirecTV, the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and we had tried for 2 straight years to get the actor Clint Eastwood on set. And that is a Hollywood legend. I mean, that's not someone you and I do this, and we meet like Joe Montana or Troy Aikman, and that happens in what you and I do. And we heard that he might come by, and then all of a sudden, like the security guard goes, Clint Eastwood's on his way over. I started sweating from my eyeballs to my ankles, and I don't really get nervous. And all of a sudden, here comes Clint Eastwood, and he walks up to the set, and I was yelling at everyone on the set, get it together. Let's tighten this up. Let's get ready. I was freaking out. And Clint Eastwood gets out of the golf cart. He's in golf attire, but it's still clearly Clint Eastwood. I think he was 85 years old. He walks up. I go, Mr. Eastwood, good to meet you. He goes, good to meet you. And I almost lost it, man. I'm like, I wish my dad was here to see this. Clint Eastwood on set. So things like that. We had Senator John McCain in studio, and that's a war hero. So things like that, you're just like, I don't expect to meet people like that. And once in a while you do.
By the way, I did think of your program today because the Mets had Matt Harvey throw out the first pitch.
The legendary
with
Matt
the
Harvey
interview, which is still to this day one of the most cringeworthy but funny radio interviews I've ever seen.
We don't have time to get to it here, but just look it up on YouTube. Matt Harvey, Dan Patrick. It was an all-timer.
All right, before we get to picks, sources tell me that you've been on a heater with college football. So we'll get to the NFL picks in just a second, but I want to just basically cheat off your test and win some money this weekend. Who do you like this weekend in college football?
Well, I find college football way easier to pick than the NFL. I think the NFL talent level is so close that the Carolina Panthers can win a game, and that doesn't really happen in college football. My absolute play over the past 10 years has been Army first half covers. I have this theory that when you play a team like Army or Navy with that triple option offense, and you're East Carolina trying to prepare for them all week, there's no scout team that can run Army's offense for you to prepare for Army's offense. So you go into that game cold, and Army just whips up on people in the first half. They are blowing away the first half cover this year. I mean, it's free money. Now, I don't know if it's going to keep going that way. Maybe Vegas will adjust the lines, but Army's been blowing the lines away all season. What I've been doing this year is picking outright winners that were underdogs. I picked Georgia Tech over Florida State week 0. I picked James Madison over at North Carolina in that shootout game where they beat them. And I picked SMU a couple weeks ago. I had Arizona State last Friday night against Utah outright. So I like picking underdogs to pull it off. This weekend, I loved Georgia Tech over Notre Dame, but I just found out 2 hours ago, Haynes King, the quarterback, he's out. But the replacement quarterback for Georgia Tech has a lot of experience. So I'm lightly sticking with Georgia Tech outright.
Gotcha. Paul Past here with us. All righty, Stu, fire up the music. Let's get to the big voiceover, guys. We get to picks.
It's time for NFL picks on the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, Paulie, you're on our turf, so I'll let you go first. What is the first game that you're picking this week?
So we're alternating. Is it like a draft? Once I take it, is it off the board?
No, we like if I pick a team and you like that, you could piggyback as well. Whatever 3 picks you want, but give one, then I'll give one, and we'll go back and forth.
Okay. I'm going to take the Patriots outright. They're getting 6 points from Jacksonville in London, the early game. The Jaguars look bad, and I don't think sometimes when a team has a bad showing like last week with the Jaguars, they recover. I don't see it, and I think Drake May is going to play better this week.
Yeah, I actually don't think the Jaguars should be a favorite of 6 points against any team in the NFL.
I was shocked.
And also, Doug Peterson, I think he's getting fired either way. Even if they win this game, I think them having to be in London for back-to-back weeks is the only reason why they kept him as the head coach of the Jaguars for this one up against the Patriots.
Let me ask you, etiquette-wise, if you're Doug Peterson, do you ask to be fired before you leave London so you don't have to fly all the way home? And you just stay in Europe for a couple of weeks and just take your per diem and roll around a little bit?
So normally I would say yes, but knowing Doug the way that I do cover him a little bit in Philadelphia, I don't think Doug Peterson is a London guy. I feel like that's a dude when he gets fired, he just wants to go sit on his couch, like open up a beer and order some like Raising Cane's or something like that.
There you go. That makes sense. All right, who's your pick?
All right, my pick, I'm going with the Green Bay Packers, a team that Doug Peterson did play for, as they are a 2.5-point favorite at home up against the Houston Texans. The Texans are a 5-1 team. They're really damn good, but the last few weeks they haven't played that clean of a product. They only beat the Jags by 4. They only beat the Bills by 3. I know they crushed the Pats last week, but Drake May looked pretty damn good in that one. I just think this is a moment where Green Bay and Jordan Love get their biggest win of the season, and they're going to cover this spread by 2.5 points, taking down the Houston Texans. So I go with Green Bay.
I'm with you on that. I love Texans going into the season. They haven't had a lot of really strong wins. They're winning. They're 5-1. I'm going to go with the Bengals over the Browns. The Bengals are giving 5.5 to the Browns. The Browns stink. I can't really see them getting better. And the Bengals are really in almost playoff mode week to week. You cannot afford a loss if you're the Bengals. And I think they're going to cover the 5.5, no problem.
All righty, my next pick, I think by the end of the weekend, we will no longer have any undefeated teams in the NFL. But from a gambling perspective, I will be more confident with the 49ers. I just don't think this game really means all that much for the Chiefs, and it means a lot more for the 49ers, who are 3-3 and trying to show everyone that, hey, there's a reason you should give us the benefit of the doubt. Last year, Eagles got their revenge up against the Chiefs in a Super Bowl rematch in the regular season. I think the Niners do it again. Give me San Francisco laying the 2 points. And your final pick is?
I'm going to go with the Jets over the Steelers. I have the Jets giving 2. It's different in different places. Low line on this one for the over-under. The Jets are, again, in playoff mode. I think they're going to be boosted this week. Russell Wilson likely the starter for the Steelers. I think they're going to be improved in the passing game, but maybe not week 1. Jets are in, again, playoff mode in October. So I think the Jets cover.
And then my final pick, I'm going to go with a team that's been really sloppy. I'm going to go with a team that I don't think their coach should be a head coach in the NFL. But with that being said, I just think this is a monster Saquon Barkley game, and I can't trust the Giants' offense. I know they're getting Neighbors back. I like the Eagles to go into, maybe we'll call it VetLife Stadium this week instead of MetLife Stadium, and the Eagles get the job done laying the 3 points. So the picks this week, I have the Eagles laying 3, the Niners laying 2, and the Packers laying 2.5, and Paulie goes with the Jaguars laying 6, the Bengals laying 5.5, and the Jets laying 2. All accurate?
Yeah, we feel pretty good about it. I feel good about those.
Yeah, well, I always feel good about my picks, and then Sunday at about 1:30 rolls around, and I'm like, cooked. Gave out 3 losers to everyone this week.
All right, how do you feel? Do you do college football much, or you stay with mostly the NFL?
Oh, we do a ton of college football. So
yeah,
I like Alabama this week to beat Tennessee. I just think Ryan Williams is the best player in that game, and that's what's going to win them the contest after barely getting him involved last week. Georgia, Texas, I have no feel on this one. I've been going back and forth. I'm just going to pick Georgia, Paulie, because I think the game, I'm not saying it doesn't mean anything for Texas. Texas could show the best team in college football and get a signature win. But for Georgia, they lose this game. They have 2 losses. They may not make the college football playoff then.
Yeah, I think they'll be okay if it's a close loss. You know, it's almost like they're in college football. It's weird. They have good losses, and if you lose by 2 to a heavyweight, it's like a good loss. So now, real quick, are you a Mets fan?
Yes, I am.
So are you dying right now? Do you want to want me to just start talking so you can watch the game? I'll just riff about Walter Payton and food in Chicago.
Here's the thing. I went to the game 3 and game 4, and they lost both of them. The times that they've been on when I've been on the air, they've actually done well. So I think
you shouldn't go to games.
Quite frankly, I think JR, who comes on after me, shouldn't even do a show tonight. I should just stay here and do the next 4 hours to secure the Mets victory. But I also want to get the heck out of this studio too.
It's funny because I don't consider myself superstitious, but sometimes it just gets right in your face. I'm a lifelong psychotic Cubs fan, and I went to game 3 and 4 of the Cubs in Chicago at Wrigley Field. They lost both. I walked out of there like, I can't believe I saw the Cubs lose 2. They ended up winning it, so it's a memory that's kind of washed from my mind. But those 2 nights, I remember coming home after the 2 games going, I want to put my head in the oven. I mean, I shouldn't have gone. For some reason, I blamed myself.
Yeah, we could play those games all day long, absolutely. Paul Pass obviously does a great job, but Dan Patrick has a new show on 670 Score, which is an Odyssey station. So you listen right here on the free Odyssey app. It's called The Tailgate every Saturday morning. Bears, NFL, college football, food, drink, all that stuff. Make sure you check it out. Paul, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. See you in New Orleans for about 7 or 8 minutes.
Yes, you got it. Looking forward to it. The best 7-8 minutes of my time in New Orleans. I'll bring the gumbo. There's no doubt about that. All righty. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. Fun stuff right there with Paul Pass. We will take a timeout. We come on back. A ton on the line this weekend for the Lions and the Vikings. I'll tell you what I mean by that when we come on back, when they meet up against one another. Update time first. Here is El Capitan, Marco Belletti.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Now, Zach, the Mets backs firmly up against the wall, down 3-1 to the Dodgers, trying to force a Game 6 back in L.A., and they're off to a good start. Pete Alonso with a 3-run shot in the bottom of the first inning as the Mets in front of the Dodgers 3-0 in the second. L.A. actually had second and third, nobody out in the top half of the first inning. Unable to score. David Peterson able to wiggle out of some trouble. Then Jack Flaherty, they really made him work. 32 pitches in that first inning. 3 hits, the 3 runs on the Alonso 3-run shot, a couple of walks as well. So we'll see if the Dodgers have to go to their bullpen early in this one. And keep in mind, they're set up for a bullpen game in Game 6 if we get that far back in L.A. The Mets trying to force that. Still a long way to go. 3-0 advantage on the Dodgers in the top of the second inning. Tonight is the Yankees and Guardians. Cleveland trying to build off their momentum after they rallied from 2 runs down in the 9th to walk it off on the Bombers and extras, pulling to within 2-1 in the series. Mike Tomlin has made his choice Sunday night for the Jets.
I am, but I'm just going to, keep that in-house. But I thought he was sharp. I thought Justin was sharp as well. I thought we had a highly productive week from both guys.
All signs point to Russell Wilson getting the start over Justin Fields. Nothing official just yet. And the Browns, they're going to get back Nick Chubb against the Bengals on Sunday. I'm Marco Belletti.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh my God.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. The Mets either had a pass ball or a wild pitch. However they rule it, I don't know. Could have gone either way. But in that spot right there, it's now Mets 3, Dodgers 1. And they just walked Ohtani. So it's first and second with 2 outs, and Mookie Betts is up. I just said this to start the show two and a half hours ago. How many times? I get it. You don't want Ohtani to beat you, but you got to pitch to him. And it wasn't like they weren't pitching to him. They were working themselves back, but you got to throw strikes up against this guy, even if it's uncomfortable. Because Betts last night was 4 for 5, and he took the Mets to school. And thankfully, the Mets are going to get out of this. Because Betts didn't get good contact, popped it up, and Pete Alonso makes the catch. So we go to the bottom of the second. The Mets are up 3-1 against the Dodgers. By the way, let me just make one correction. I think I may have misspoke when we had Paul Past on. So I have the Eagles laying 3, the Niners laying 1.5, and the Packers laying 2.5. Paulie had the Pats +6, the Bengals -5.5, and then the Jets laying 2. I think I said Jaguars laying 6 he has the Pats +6, which I actually like that pick a lot. Stu, this is the first week, I think, this entire year I actually walk into a game optimistic about my football team. And that doesn't say a whole lot about the Jacksonville Jaguars if I could feel like this is a potential win spot for the Patriots. Like, I don't know about you, Stu. Do you think they could get rid of Doug Peterson even if they win a close one? Like, if they win 20-17 up against the Pats, is he coaching the next week up against the Green Bay Packers?
I think he's done. I think this is the last game he coaches.
Isn't it weird, too?
Win or loss.
So they go to London for these last 2 weeks. You would think they would have a bye week, right?
Next week, right? Do they not have one?
They don't.
That's weird.
I looked at the schedule. I'm like, oh, they probably have a bye week, and then you get right. They don't have a bye week until, I think it's Thanksgiving weekend they may have a bye, or the week before Thanksgiving weekend. So they are in London for Chicago. They get just totally destroyed by the Bears, 35-16. They stay in London. They got the Patriots on Sunday, the Jaguars. And then they come back, and at least they're home in Duval up against the Green Bay Packers. You know what? Not that it probably should operate this way, and I don't think it does. Doug Peterson coached in Philadelphia, did have ties in Green Bay, right, when he played there. Their next 2 games in Jacksonville, Green Bay and Philadelphia, they just say, hey, at least you get those nice moments before, we'll send you off. We'll send you off with your salary, coach. But I do believe that he's going to be donezo either way. Like, if they lose to the Patriots, how do they keep this guy as their head football coach? And
Doug's a good coach. He's a good man. Nothing against him, but this team, not that they have great talent, but they got enough talent. You shouldn't be sitting there at 1-5. And you lose to the Patriots, so let's be real. The only thing they have going for them right now is Drake May. Whew, that would be brutal. All righty, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Dan in Detroit says, Zach, do the Lions get it done up against the Vikings? Love your take that Max Crosby should be traded to the Detroit Lions. Well, thank you. You can submit a question by tweeting at INFSportsCenter or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. I will answer the question in just a second. But you know how I'm very stressed with this Mets game? I came back from break, and I'm like, what the heck is going on with my hat? Because I'm moving it around so much. I think I just turned it around the entire way, and I'm like, oh, this is like sideways off my cabeza. You know what? I usually don't like when radio hosts, I think it looks rather douchey. I don't love when they wear like these hats indoors, like these winter hats indoors. But, you know, I was slow moving today. I took a late shower, and I'm like, I don't even want to comb my hair. So I could have wore a baseball cap, but then I thought it was going to be cold, Stu. And then I walked outside, and it was cold the last 2 days. It was like 70 degrees today walking here. So I had the hat on, and I'm like, I already put the hat on. I didn't do the hair, so I got to sit down and be on YouTube. So I'm just, I guess, I tied my shoes today, and I said, look like a douche today. Alvarez had a double. Second base, Lindor up. Got to get him in. Lindor's got to get him in here. And, oh, baby. Oh, come on. Come on. Is it fair? Is it fair? Oh. Just foul. I was almost like, Carl Yastrzemski. I had to wave the ball. Wave the ball. Oh. Francisco Lindor was a Samter away from hitting a home run. Oh, that was so close. So close. Just foul. You know what? The Mets need to continue to win. Here's why. I guess this TV is delayed by a half second from whatever's going on in the newsroom. I hear Hickey through the soundproof studios. That's how loud and obnoxious Hickey can be during these games.
Was he like this when you guys did shows together? Like, could you hear him when, like, the Rangers scored a big goal or the Mets got a big run?
Oh, boy. Come on. Go, 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 go. Oh. Lindor hit it to the track. Betts' back was on the wall, and he made the catch. You know, let me tell you this. The Mets have like 8 balls in this series that have gone to the warning track just at home again at Citi Field that just, they don't want to go out. And they all, like, Winker last night I thought was definitely Gonzo. Alonso the other night I thought was Gonzo. And that one I thought was gone too. So they were able to tag up there. Your question was, did he act like this?
Yeah.
No, he didn't. Like, that was the crazy part too. The only time I remember, like, when Penn State would play, there was one, it was two times. There was a Penn State football game like early in the season that he was going nuts about. And then, like, sometimes in the studio, I could hear what you guys are saying, even if your mics aren't on, just like with the wiring here. So I'd be like, hey, I just heard everything you just said. He's like, how? And he just didn't believe me. And I was like, well, you were just talking about this, and this, whoever he was talking about with. And then, you want to know this? He was going nuts once about Penn State wrestling. And like one night, I didn't know what was on. It's like when you guys watch soccer and you guys go nuts. And he was like, "Grr!" And I'm like, what are you watching? It was Penn State wrestling. I go, ugh, who cares?
I think he knocked me out of the way once between shows so he could find the Penn State wrestling match
you?
on. Not literally shoved, but basically was like, he was like rushing to the TV. You? No, this is when you were still with him.
Oh, okay.
Might have been that same night. Who knows? But he was, yeah.
If this was now when we were working together and he shoved you out of the way,
yeah.
I would walk in there and I'd bring the boom. That's what I would do. All right. Anyway, let me answer this question. Lions and Vikings. I like the Lions this weekend. I do. I know Minnesota, right? It's undefeated. I just think Detroit, I really do believe, even if I didn't rank them in the top spot in the NFC in my Take 5 Wednesday, because right now it should be the Vikings are undefeated. I do think the Lions, pound for pound, are the best team in the NFC. But if Minnesota does win this game and they start the year off 6-0, it'd be unbelievable. the next few weeks, they could be undefeated for a while. You got the Rams. I know they're getting a little bit healthier than the Colts, the Jaguars, Tennessee, the Bears, the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Bears, the Seahawks, the Packers, the Lions. Like, geez. This Minnesota team, they're going to have like 12 wins or so this year. I know it's easy to say when they're already 5-0, but if they don't have like 11 or 12 wins, that would be disappointing. All right, I think the Mets, did they get the sack fly here? Oh, no, they didn't even send the runner. Jeez. So you got now a guy stranded on third, Alvarez, with 2 outs. Vientos, get him home. All righty, fun week. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. Stu, thank you. Sam, thank you. Marco Belletti, thank you as well. Also like to thank Roman Harper for joining us, and Paul Pabst. I will be on WFAN in New York tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And then Sunday, you can hear me right here, Sunday Morning Football on the Infinity Sports Network. First hour college at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Second hour at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We do all things NFL. And then we'll be back on Monday right here for the Zach Gelb Show, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. We out. Bye-bye. Mets, get me a Game 7, please. Peace.